Hey, what's up? My name is Eminem, also known as Marshall Mathers III. And here's a quick story, just to get you guys started, just to get your ears going. So I flew coach, or publicly rather, until my second album came out, which was like around 2000, 2001. And I was sleeping outside of my gate, because I was tired. And all the planes are always late, always late. Sucks. All right, so I was sleeping outside of my gate, and I woke up because there was these giggling noises. So I woke up and there's these two girls staring at me, giggling. And they were kind of cute, a little bit young, but cute anyways. And they were just laughing at me, and I was like, why are you laughing at me? And they're like, let me see your thumbs. So I looked at their thumbs. Well, I showed them my thumbs, rather. My thumb's hyperextended, kind of a bit farther than this back then, but my thumb's hyperextended. And that just amazed the crap out of them. Like, it just blew their minds that my thumb's extended or something. And it just really freaks me out, because I was sleeping there, trying to wait for my gate. And these two girls are staring at me, and they noticed such a minuscule detail that my thumb's hyperextended. It just made me think, right? If I was ever going to be normal again, if I was just going to be a freak for the rest of my life. And so I guess I have my best friend Proof to thank for this. So I met Proof when I was 14 years old. I was just starting freshman year at Roosevelt High School. And so I was handing out talent show flyers because I had to, advertise it. And so when I was advertising it, I was like, hey, come check this out, I'm gonna rap here. And he kind of looked at me, he's black by the way, he kind of looked at me like, white boys can't rap. And so when I saw that look, I started rapping at him, and I don't remember the rhyme exactly, but I rhymed birthday with first place, and he really liked that, and then he rhymed back, and we had the exact same rhyming style, and so right away we were best friends just like that. And I have a lot to thank for Proof, right? He taught me how to rap, he taught me how to cuss someone out, he taught me how to fight, he also taught me how to break dance, which is pretty cool, but most importantly, he taught me how to have a good time, right? And so me and Proof were best friends all the way up until high school, pretty much. Best friends our entire life, really, but then around my third year of 9th grade, I was 17, we were working at Little Caesars, and I remember the day when he ripped off his Little Caesar apron thing, ripped out, he's like, F this man, I'm going hip hop full time. Right? And he walked out and he quit his job just so he can go rap. And I followed in his footsteps, which was probably a good idea, kind of a bad idea, because so I quit my job too, and I dropped out of high school. And then I moved in to this big house that was filled with 6 other bachelors, right? And the 5 of them were rappers just like me, and one of them was a DJ, and it was perfect. Because the DJ, we'd go down to the basement, he'd lay down beats, and we'd take turns freestyling. And it was perfect, because that practice constantly helped me keep up my game. But then I had to move out a year later, because my girlfriend Kim had our daughter Haley in 1995, and that was rough. Every house, so I had to move out. Every house we moved to either got shot up or robbed, so we had to move to her mother's attic. And that was horrible. It was like a 4-foot crawl space. You put a mattress down, and that's where we slept every night. And my writing kind of stopped because I was just trying to be a good dad, It's really hard to buy diapers on a minimum wage job. It's horribly hard, especially when I worked 2 jobs just to make enough money just to afford a baby. And so my writing kind of stopped. And so Proof was worried about me. And he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger in the Detroit scene. He was building up his reputation. And I was just sitting there, in an attic trying to take care of my baby, not going anywhere with my life. So he was constantly trying to get me out of my mom's attic. So one night, all right, he called me up, and he's like, hey Eminem, read me one of your rhymes. So I pulled out I had this big bag full of my rhymes. I constantly just stuffed rhymes in there, on toilet paper, on anything. So I pulled out this rhyme and I said it to him, right? And he's like, dude, I'm getting out of there. I'm gonna come pick you up. We're going to the hip hop shop. And so he pulls up in his car with a brand new pair of sneakers. He went out and bought sneakers for me. He gave them to me. He's like, all right, we're going to the hip hop shop. So the next day, I went to the hip hop shop. And the hip hop shop was a clothing store that hosted open mic sessions on Saturdays. And so anybody that wanted to come and rap could come in, do some freestyle, maybe rap battle someone, and then leave. It was perfect. It always gained a huge crowd. And so I went to a really big rap battle with Proof. And so I watched the rap battle, and it was really good. But then afterwards, I kind of snuck on stage when there was less of a crowd, and I started rapping. And I got a huge response. It was amazing. People were jumping up and down. They were screaming, essentially a rave of 5 people in a clothing shop. And they were yelling at Proof, yo, where'd you find this man? And so that really really built up my confidence. I was addicted to the oohs and the ahs of the audience. So I started going every Saturday. I started building up my confidence, started building up my reputation. And after I won my second big annual championship at the hip hop shop, Proof introduced me to my manager Paul, and that's where I really hit the racetrack. Right, that's when my career really started going. But what really fueled my race car was Slim Shady. All right, so one night I was living in the bachelor house, and so Proof calls me up. He's like, "Hey, I want to start our own version of the Wu-Tang Clan, and we're going to call it the Dirty Dozen." Right. So I invited the 5 other rappers on our that I was living with to come join the Dirty Dozen. Right. Problem was only 6 of us. So then Proof came up with the idea that we each have a second persona that would rap about the craziest stuff ever, and then that would make 12. 6 times 2 is 12. I'm not that bad at math, right? So the idea of the second persona, right, just rap about the craziest stuff ever. And so, for example, kind of disgusting, one of the other members, his name was Bizarre. One of his rhymes was, so he rhymed how he's going to rape his friend's grandmother and then afterwards have sex with her chihuahua. So it's just really ridiculous stuff like that. And so I was having a really hard time coming up with my persona. And I was on the toilet one day, taking a crap, and the name Slim Shady just hit me like a wave, or rather a splash from the toilet. And it just hit me, right? And I was like, oh, Slim Shady, that's so awesome. Okay, what can I rhyme with it? And I started rhyming stuff with it, and I knew it was perfect. And so the second person, our second persona, had to rap about this really crazy stuff. So my idea was like, hey, this can be a way to release my anger, because I was always angry at the world. I got angry at the littlest things. So I came up with Slim Shady, constantly angry at the world, and he rapped about some pretty crazy stuff too. Like, for example, I rhymed, "I'm no joke, don't take me for a comedian," right after I say I raped the women's swim team. So just really stupid, absolutely horrible stuff like that, which probably wasn't good in the end because I was called some nasty stuff. But it wasn't, I didn't really mean it, it was just Slim Shady going off. And so the name, or rather, so how the name Slim Shady came up, the look of him, which is this essentially, except bleached hair, I don't have it anymore. But, so I was walking around downtown Detroit, and I was on 2 hits of ecstasy, and I decided to get my hair bleached. So I went in, I got my hair bleached, and I went back to our hotel, and I fell asleep, right? So then Dre woke me up the next morning, and I was wearing this, except with bleached hair, and he got up, he looks at me, he kind of laughs a bit, and he's like, dude, that's your look right there, that's your image. And so we stuck with it, and that's what really, that's when people recognized me. And then after that, that's when people started realizing, like, hey, that's Eminem and or Slim Shady. I gotta go get his autograph. And that's where stuff really started hitting, started going because of Slim Shady. I wouldn't be half as famous as I was now if it weren't for him. And I refer to him as a different person too, because he was a completely different attitude, right? Like, it was my anger and everything, but he expressed it. It was him. He was the anger, right? And back when I was rapping, I used to blame stuff on Slim because he was a different person and I could get away with it. But now that doesn't really work. And so Slim actually started coming up. He started becoming me, right? Like, he was kind of like a dual personality that started taking over my actual self. He started taking over Marshall. And so I had to get rid of him. And so I stopped touring in 2005 briefly because I didn't want him anymore. And I wanted to focus on being a family man, right? So I have 3 daughters, actually. I have Haley, who is my actual daughter. I have Elena, who is my niece to my brother Nathan. And then I have Whitney, who has no biological connection to me. And I stopped touring because I wanted them to have a good life, I was raised horribly. And my brother, he was constantly neglected by my mom. And she always pretended that he was hurt, had a broken leg, or it's some mental disorder that she has. And so I had to take care of him. And I didn't want that for my 3 daughters, right? I wanted them to all have equal love and attention from both me and Kim, right? Their mom. So I focused on them, right? But it's tough. It's really tough being a parent, especially when you dropped out of 9th grade and you're trying to get your kids to go to college, which I finally did. Haley just graduated and she's going to college now. She graduated last year. It's just tough, I'm arguing with them, you gotta go to college, you gotta get your grades up. And they're like, you dropped out in 9th grade. I'm like, yeah, right? Like, it's not fair. And they don't know how nice they have. You know, they're living in this nice mansion with everything they need. When I was growing up, I was constantly moving around Detroit. Like, I would never stay out of school for more than 3 months, right? I was constantly moving. And here they have a nice house, a nice life. They have food on their plate every night. You know, they just don't get it. But probably the hardest thing about parenting is to protect them from me. Right, that's not like abuse or anything, but like for this one time, Haley was having a birthday party, right? And there's a bunch of her friends around. And the news was reporting how earlier, right, I beat up a dude outside one of my concerts. And so I was running around our whole house trying to turn off all of our freaking TVs, because we have like 5 million of them, and trying to change the channel so none of the people, none of the parents, right, see that I was beating up this dude out of the concert, and I was going to be a bad influence on maybe any of the children, right? You know, that really just struck me because, you know, I've had a lot of run-ins with the cops. But I should have learned from the first time, which was really bad. So earlier I said proof taught me how to have a good time. And so what we did to have a good time was we'd ride around in his car with 2 paintball guns, and we'd go around downtown shooting pedestrians. And so we did this every Friday night, essentially. We did it for about 6 weeks until we really got in trouble, right? So we were driving around town, and we were in the rich white kid neighborhood, right? And we turned right, and there was this college. I forgot the college name. But there's these 3 kids skateboarding, right? 3 white kids. They're skateboarding, right? And we sneak up behind them real slow, and then we pop them right in the back, right? It was hilarious, like bam, 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 and hit him right in the back. And this one dude got hit right in the back of the head, but he didn't even flinch. Right, no flinch whatsoever. It was super weird. And literally, like 3 seconds later, there were 6 cop cars on us. We were cuffed and on the ground, right? This one white cop was calling me white trash and beating the crap out of us, right? He ripped my earring out while I was on the ground. And he literally made Proof eat grass, right? And that was a horrible experience, and so we got dragged off to jail. And then the cop was explaining to us after our night serving that one of the dudes wanted to press charges because we hit him in the balls. So we're like, that's physically impossible. We're shooting him from the back, right? So if we're shooting him from the back like this, you would have to have been like spread leg, balls hanging like an old man, hitting him right from the back, which we didn't do. We got him in the back of the head and the back right here. That's absolutely ridiculous. And so we were staring down about 5 years of jail time, which was just like, oh my God, that was going to devastate us, right? Because our rap careers were going to be over, right? That prime between like 17 years old and 25 is when your rap career really got to start right there. You really got to start building up your reputation. And so we were screwed because we couldn't afford a lawyer, we couldn't do anything. And so on the day of the hearing, we show up, and the old man bald dude never showed up. We were so lucky, so we got off on technicality. And because that dude never showed up that day, I've become the best-selling rapper of all time and the 6th best-selling artist of all time as well. I've sold nearly 45 million albums worldwide. And my album Recovery is the highest-selling album of all time digitally, right? And I was able to do this while raising 3 kids, being called homophobic, misogynist, and being called gay. So remember, guys, sometimes it's good to be a freak. I'm out.